This is going to be a quick video going over the different features of the trending dialog box and how to record data in the service level of Toolkit. To get started, I'm going to add a few parameters to the trending dialog box. Just open the window, and we'll go ahead and switch back. I'll switch back to the trending dialog box. There's the standard start-stop, live freeze, a few zoom options. First window I want to open up is the properties dialog box. At the top, the sample rate can be set and the default time span. Another option is the storage type. You have two options, in memory and to a datalog file. By default, in memory is selected and 20 minutes is the capacity. If there isn't any limit that wants to be set, you can check unlimited capacity can be checked, and that will remove the limit. There's some more information that is displayed when selecting different options. The datalog file saves the recording to an external file automatically, and all that's needed is to type in file name. For this, we'll do test recording. When to use each option depends on what is wanted, what conclusions need to be drawn, or how the data is going to be used. The in-memory option might be used when the data needs to be imported into an Excel spreadsheet and reports need to be made. The datalog file might be used more so in a troubleshooting scenario where the data would need to be opened natively in Toolkit. If saving to a datalog file, it is still possible to save it out to an HTML file to be imported into an Excel spreadsheet later, but it just adds an extra step. So below that, we have the list of plots that are listed previously in the trending dialog box. Here we can reorder them if we like by either hitting move up or move down. There is also a plot properties box, which we can adjust several properties of the different plots. We can adjust the scale upper and lower limits. We can adjust the label. Say we wanted to include the units on engine speed, we can do that too. So I'll close this dialog box and get back to the trending window. The next thing I wanted to go over is the adjusting of the scales on the fly. They can be adjusted pretty easily just by clicking and dragging up and down. The upper limit can be adjusted by clicking in the upper half of the graph and dragging. Similarly, the lower limit can be adjusted by clicking and dragging in the lower half of each scale. The scales can also be manually entered in down in the list of parameters just by double clicking on the upper limits and the lower limits. The name of the parameter can be modified in the trending dialog box as well. By default, going back to the scales, they're shown on the left side by default, but that can also be changed with the scale position column. Say we wanted to have engine speed on the right side, we could select right side from the drop down box, or if we had started to get quite a few parameters listed here, the Toolkit shows the scales by default, and so that would really start to crowd the graph area, and which would make it difficult to read. And so I can actually turn off some of the scales or hide them to make the graph easier to read just by choosing the hidden option. There are a few other columns in the plot list. We have min, max, and average, and the only thing that's important to note about that is that it is calculating that based on the time span shown here between the two slider bars. And so as we can slide this section of the timeline along, and it automatically updates the the min, max, and average. It updates these calculations. So if we're all the way to the right, it displays not a number. The last feature I wanted to go over is the trending configurations option. This is just to the right of tools, and what this does is saves out an external file which saves all of the parameters listed and all of the entire configuration for this recording for use later. This saves a lot of time so that all of the parameters don't have to be reloaded into the trending dialog box. So it's just easiest to show that. So I've created one already. It's called test config, but that has a list of different parameters. We'll save a new configuration for these parameters. We'll just call it test recording 1. And to save it, just click save to the right of it. And to test to make sure that it works, we'll close the dialog box. And to get it to open back up, we'll just add a parameter back. Select test recording 1 from the drop down, and it brings all of the parameters I had populated, as well as their upper and lower limits and any other changes I had made to the recording.